Picks 5 and 6. The team they share the stadium with, the New York Giants there on MetLife. Here's what I did in Monday's mock draft. I had the Giants take Charles Cross at pick 5, and at pick 6, I had him taking Tyler Lindenbaum, the center out of Iowa. Ooh. I just went all in. This was Stingley and Hamilton still available. I said, look, let's just fix it. We just talked about Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson helping those guys out. If Daniel Jones is your guy, and I'm assuming he's going to be, I don't know what the situation is going to be with the coach in the front office. I don't know who's going to be there, but, we keep talking about this. Fix the offensive line and then go from there. That's an option. But, Traps, I'll start with you. Are you doubling down on offensive linemen here, even if these defensive guys that we've been talking about, Stingley and Hamilton and Kobe Dean and Andrew Booth or whoever you love, still available? Are you thinking about quarterback here? Like, what are you doing if you're the Giants with these 2 picks?
Well, I think you're right, Ryan, that we don't really know where the Giants are going to turn when it comes to the quarterback spot, because it sounds like Dave Gettleman's going to be out after the season. The GM that drafted him kind of infamously inside the top 10 after watching one Senior Bowl drive. But it sounds like Joe Judge is going to remain as the head coach. I think what will happen kind of aligns with what I would do, that the Giants are going to move on from Daniel Jones. So I think, and this is a way out of left field, I think this is where quarterback first comes into play, and that you could look at it from afar and say, is Kenny Pickett that much better of a prospect than Daniel Jones was? What about Matt Corral? Maybe they're not significantly better or more exciting. I think maybe Matt Corral brings a little bit of the same athleticism and arm talent, but has more upside than Daniel Jones, not as many turnovers. But if they do stay with Daniel Jones, they have to go offensive line. I don't even think going wide receiver would be a bad idea at this point. So if you stay Daniel Jones, go on the offensive side. I think when healthy, the defense can play at a reasonable level to make you a playoff contender. But I think have an inkling that the Giants are going to ultimately move away from Daniel Jones, and Joe Judge will have a lot of his fingerprints on this draft, especially early.
You bring up a good point, Traps, because sort of the comparison between Daniel Jones and Kenny Pickett, if we're being honest, if I'm being honest, I can't speak for you guys, Daniel Jones is probably better coming out of Duke than Kenny Pickett is coming out of Pitt. And I say that based on the fact that Daniel Jones had a bunch of lawyers and accountants on his team that were the ACC equivalent of being, 5'4" and 125 pounds trying to play football against Power 5 opponents. And he did a lot of that by himself. I mean, they had players on that team. I don't mean to slight them. I don't know if it's slight to call someone really smart who's making a lot of money, not getting their brains beat in. But I think the reason we're sort of over Daniel Jones is because we've seen him play in the NFL, and the idea of him being good is that luster has worn off. Whereas Kenny Pickett could very well just be Daniel Jones, who you have yet to see play in the NFL. And then, 7 weeks in, we have the Zach Wilson treatment of him. I don't know, but it is interesting to think about that because we can convince ourselves of a lot of things. Josh, what are you doing at 5 and 6 if you're the Giants, potentially new front office and a ton of needs?
Yeah, I don't know why you guys are talking about offensive line and quarterback when this team has shown time and time again what their plan is, and that's to add wide receivers. So you want to double down at wide receiver here with 5 and 6. No, last year they go out and they sign Kenny Golladay. They take Kadarius Toney in the first round, didn't address really either side of the ball. So you come back here. I think your goal is to address the trenches, whether that's an edge rusher, whether that's one of those interior offensive linemen. I think that's the best route that this team could possibly go to. Now, if Kyle Hamilton is available, if Derek Stingley is available, then maybe you consider one of those guys because Jabril Peppers is going to be a free agent. You possibly slide Adoree Jackson back into that nickel role. Moving forward, you bring in a guy opposite of James Bradbury. This team has a lot of options, and it really starts with the decisions that they make in the offseason. If it's true that Dave Gettleman is out in New York, what's the new guy going to want to do? Is he going to want to bring in his own quarterback like Traps suggested? Is he going to want to bring in a new defensive scheme, which kind of resets the board in a lot of different ways?
Hey, Josh, let me ask you based on what you just said there. If let's say the board stays as it is, if you're the new Giants GM and you're thinking about defense, and I told you as the NFL draft fairy that if you trade up for Thibodeau or Hutchinson at number 2 with the Jaguars, and it'll cost you, I don't know, 2 second-round picks or something, I don't know, and you'll get 85% of Micah Parsons, what are you doing if you're the Giants?
Well, I think you absolutely take that deal because they've been looking for that quality of an edge rusher for so long. So if the fairy comes along and they're saying you get 85% of the defensive rookie of the year, I think you take that all day long, especially for 2 first round or 2 second round picks, because then you're retaining your 6th pick, if I understand that correctly.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I mean, you have an opportunity there to get 2 first round, 2 top 10 caliber players. And immediately solve this edge rusher problem that's been eluding you for several years.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think we talk about this sometimes. We overvalue these first round picks because again, like Kenny Pickett, we don't know, and we're excited by the prospects. And sometimes, Kenny Pickett turns into Joe Burrow, and sometimes Kenny Pickett might turn into Daniel Jones. You just have to wait and see. That's what makes it so much fun.
And for a little context there, I think it was the Colts in a deal with the Jets. I think they went from number 3 to number 6 the year that the Jets came up and got Sam Darnold. I think the compensation for that was 3 second-round picks. So you're seeing a little bit of a ballpark where you don't have to give up a first-round pick to possibly make that action happen and get a quality player. Yeah,
and this again, it's going to be probably most likely a non-quarterback situation, and that might make it a little cheaper to move up if that's what you're interested in doing. All right.